Hi, welcome back. We hope by now you would be having a very clear understanding about what is human-centered design, what is all about empathizing with others, and of course the design thinking process. Now it's time that we put into practice design thinking process. Once again, as a reminder, we would like to encourage you to look around you for a problem. Especially, we would encourage you to look for a local problem, a problem that is well within your neighborhood. The reason we are asking you to look for a local problem is, when you try to solve a problem that you see on daily basis, it is easy for you to relate with. So you and your team, we would highly recommend to look for a problem that is your very neighborhood problem and that needs solving. Now something to remember here is, when you look at a problem, do not become judgmental and start looking for a solution straight ahead. Be excessively possessed about the problem and not its solution in the beginning. Now, once you've identified the problem, look for the people or the segment of the people or individuals who are having this problem and would like to get this problem solved for them. Once you identify these individuals, now it's time for you to put into practice stage 1 of design thinking process, that is empathize. Well, what is empathy? We saw from the video and the examples before that empathy is trying to understand the problem from the perspective of the person or the individual who's having the problem. When we look at the problems that others have, usually we have a lot of preconceived notion about the person who is having the problem. And our judgment may not help us to get as close to the feeling of the person who's having the problem with all the preconceived notions that we are having. So it is very important that you empathize with the person or the individual who's having the problem. The dictionary definition for the word empathy is putting yourself in others' shoes. That is, trying to understand the problems from their point of view. Listening to the people having the problem is very crucial at this stage. Allow the person with whom you're trying to empathize to talk as much as possible and try to understand their underlying feelings. Sometimes people may not express their problems openly, or simply they themselves may not be aware that this is a problem worth solving. For this, you may need to spend some quality time with them and try to understand the problems or the pain points that they may be facing. When you meet them, ensure that you prepare your questions beforehand and also bring up new questions when you're conversing with them. If possible, with the permission of the person whom you're empathizing with, try to record your conversation so that you can reflect upon it later on. Always keep the conversation around the problem and do not discuss about solutions right away. Now, understand this, that you may understand your user straight away in one sitting, or you may require multiple sittings before you understand your user fully. So be patient, spend some quality time and try to understand and get to the root of the problem. Remember, the purpose of Empathize is to understand and relate with your user's perspective of the problem as much as possible. Now, when you empathize with your probable users, it's time for you to move on to the stage 2 of design thinking process, that is define. Now that you have a good amount of information collected after empathizing, it's time for you to accumulate, analyze, and synthesize your observations and define core problems faced by your users. Now you may have come across many problems, maybe 10 or 20 different problems. Now remember, the aim here is to come up with only a set of 3 to 4 problems which you would target to solve first. Clearly define who your probable user would be and their specific need to be met. Also state few clear problem statements that as a team you would like to work upon. Stage 3 of design thinking process is Ideate. Well, by now you'll be having a wealth of information and a clear perspective about the problem statement as well as the people facing the problem, thanks to the effort that you have taken in the first 2 stages. So now it is time you sit down as a group and start ideating upon possible solutions for solving this problem. Brainstorming and mind mapping are very useful ways of doing it. Well, when you brainstorm as a group, remember that the quantity of ideas are more important than the quality of ideas. You have a better chance of arriving at a brilliant solution when you have a lot of ideas on the table. Now set the stage for a successful brainstorming session. Even before you start with your brainstorming session, remember to follow these 7 rules. which will help you to make your brainstorming session highly effective and come up with possible solutions. The rule number 1 is when you brainstorm, do not pass judgment upon each other's ideas. Let the ideas flow and encourage each other's ideas rather than cancelling them out straight away. Defer judgment. The rule number 2 is encourage wild ideas. Encourage ideas that are out of the box. Remember that there's often not a whole lot of difference between a brilliant and an outrageous idea. Rule number 3 is try to get the involvement of each and every member in your team. A brilliant idea can come up from anywhere and any person at any given time. So try to get the maximum involvement of every single individual in your group. Try to use words such as and instead of words such as but. The reason is it encourages positivity and inclusivity in a team discussion, and that helps people to come up with tons of ideas. Rule number 4 is stay focused on the topic. Try to keep the discussion on the target and do not deviate from it. Small amount of divergence is good, but always be clear about your ultimate purpose for this very discussion. Rule number 5, one conversation at a time. Allow each member who have started a conversation to complete their conversation before you start a new one. This can be difficult, especially if your group members consist of people who are very creative. So remember, always allow one person to complete his idea before you allow someone else to share theirs. Rule number 6, be visual. It's good to throw your ideas in the air, but it's better that you write it down. Use tools such as post-it notes or even a pen and a paper to put down your ideas visually. Maybe draw some drawings, make it as visual as possible. Rule number 7, go for quantity. Remember, quantity of ideas are more important than the quality of ideas at this stage. Come up with at least 100 ideas after a discussion of close to 60 minutes. That's how quick you should be in sharing your ideas. So keep the 7 rules in mind to have an effective brainstorming session and churn out good ideas. Another way of ideating is by drawing a mind map. Mind map is a visual information management tool that helps us structure, organize, memorize, arrange, and learn information in a highly specialized way. It presents an overview and summary of a body of knowledge that fuses words and pictures together. Mind mapping seamlessly blends logic and creative thoughts to help us think more proficiently and effectively about the subject we are learning. There are a set of rules which, if you follow, your mind mapping session can be very effective. Some of these rules are: rule number 1, always use a central image throughout your discussion. Rule number 2, put one main topic on each of the branches. Rule number 3, put subtopics on their own sub-branches. Rule number 4, use 3 or more colors so that you can identify your mind map more clearly. Rule number 5 is use one keyword per line. Do not use multiple keywords. Rule number 6, print all words clearly. And rule number 7 is also leave space for unexpected topics or new thoughts. And the final rule is let your mind wander. Well, by doing these things, we hope that you'll come up with a bunch of solutions for the problem identified for the niche segment of market. Well, the stage 4 of design thinking process is prototype. Now it's time that you materialize your solutions or ideas into something tangible. As a team, try to come up with an inexpensive and scaled down model or an experimental product mockup which you can make very easily with the resources that are available right within your reach. This could involve simple paper prototyping to even creating a solution demo or a minimum viable product. Now, when you have a product mockup ready, remember not to spend a lot of time or a lot of money in making your product mockup. Make it as simple as possible and as inexpensive as possible, but ensure to keep all the required features in them. Now that you have your product mockup ready, it's time that you test your product with your probable customer or user. So the final stage of design thinking process, that is stage 5 of the design thinking process, is test. Now it's time that you present your ideas or solutions to a select group of individuals who would test and give their valuable feedback. When you present your solution demo or minimum viable product or simply your product prototype to this select group of people, ask them some questions to record your observations, such as: does the product solve your problem? Are you convenient in using this product or service? Would you like to buy this product to solve your problem? How much would you pay for a product such as this? Well, there are many more questions that you can ask based upon your product and service The key here is trying to understand that is this really the product that the market wants. Hope you have enjoyed the journey this far and have understood a design thinking process by which you can come up with solutions that the market really want. Go ahead, put the design thinking process into practice and come up with a solution that will transform the world. All the best.